At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Man, I remember back in the days when my son was very young, right? He was still in a car seat, but he was alert where he could talk and stuff, right? And it was Christmas time, and he wanted to go see the lights. Now, I'm not sure if it's like this everywhere, but down south, they have these light shows where you can drive through the woods and you can see all these lights in the trees and designs and all this. He wanted to go see these lights bad, just kept on asking. So I said, let's go check the lights out, right? So we drive to go see the lights. We pull up in the event, and we're going through the woods, and I'm giving him the grand tour on what he's seeing, right? And then we pull out and get back on the highway, and all of a sudden my son says, Dad, are we almost to the light show? And I'm thinking to myself, I said, this joker done slept during the whole ordeal. But it made me think about how people move through this world, right? You have some people that are born on this planet that live their lives and die and never knew they were here.
Is it not written in your law that ye are gods? You understand what I'm saying? So it just depends on what level you own based on, whether you're human or whether you're immortal.
Now, when you're talking about a person, waking up from amongst the land of sleepwalkers on this planet, right? You have to break it down into three sections, right? It happens in three parts. And the first part is what I call the awakening, of course, right? Now, this is when a person just goes from this normal trance-like state, just operating in this world like everybody else, and all of a sudden, they have this moment where they're starting to snap out of it. Now, this moment could last, 1 second. Somebody could be in a car wreck and have some kind of, see the light, for example. Or it can happen, when I say a moment, it can happen over the course of days, weeks, even months for some people. For me, it happened over the course of about 2, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, right? And this is what happened in my case. I was in my 20s. I was 23, 24. Give or take, and I was attending a church in Oklahoma. Now, I was a model citizen. I was a model Christian. I was in the church. I paid my tithes. I gave my offering. I attended church on Sundays. I would sit in the back, keep to myself, right? And for some reason, one day, the preacher came to me after church, and he asked me, could I teach Sunday school? And in my mind, I'm like, man, no, like I'm here. Like, be happy that I'm here. I'm supporting. You want me to get on the usher board or something? I got that, but man, I'm not finna teach no class. And he just kept pounding me. And I finally agreed to it. Now, this is what happened. So you have to understand that, I grew up in a church. My dad was a preacher. So in my mind, I'm like, man, I've heard these stories my whole life. Jonah in the well. Job got sick, Jesus wept, blase. I've heard them all, so this will be a cakewalk. But what happened, man, is, as I started the very first week, as I started studying and preparing for my Sunday school class, I was noticing from day one that the things that I was reading in the same Bible that I had my whole life was contradicting the things that not only was that I was hearing from the pulpit at that particular church, but was contradicting some of the things that I even heard my father say back when I was young, right? So what happened is, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks of me teaching this class, my ideas were changing. So I was presenting things to the people in my class that was really not traditional. And you got to think, I was a 24, 25-year-old man, and I'm teaching people that are seniors that's been hearing this thing their whole life, but I'm sitting there showing them the word. I'm backing things up with facts, and they're just like, something's not right with this. Something's not right with this. So that was me really understanding that some wasn't right with this whole picture. Long story short, there was some issue at church that I disagreed with, and I knew that this was no longer for me, right? And the thing you have to understand is that once you start awakening, the main part about awakening is you'll start to question everything. Like once you realize that one major thing in your life is completely out of whack, at that point you have to line up every single thing that you know and rerun it through a filter. Even the Bible says that, if you really want to see the kingdom, you have to become, like the little children. In other words, you have to reset your mind. And what I had to do, man, I had to question everything. Like why is there a government? Why are there political parties? Like why do I have to be a part of a religion? Why do I have to be a Christian or a Muslim? Why can't I just be a believer in the Most High? You know, why is the retirement age set at 65? I question every single thing. I even question up and down. I had to run every single thing in my life through a filter. And what you'll understand, guys, you'll soon understand that every single thing in place on this world is meant to be a distraction. You know what I'm saying? But this is what you'll understand. You understand that it's meant to be a distraction, but then you also understand why these things aren't fulfilling anymore. You ever hear people say how they're bored? I'm gonna tell you, man, I haven't been bored in my life since I was in my 20s, since I went through my awakening stage. Because you gotta understand, things like the NFL, NBA, you know, your sitcoms, you know, all these TikTok challenges, these things are put in place to keep you distracted from where your energy should be going. And these things aren't fulfilling. You know, they can satisfy you. You can get dopamine rushes from these things, but they're more like GMO. You know, they look like what we should be pursuing, but they just don't have the sustenance that comes with it. So the next stage, you know, in these 3 stages of awareness is the journey. Now you have to understand that most people will never make it to this point, right? Let me be clear. Let me say this again. You have some people that will be sleepwalkers that will have their awakening. You know, in other words, they'll understand that something is not right with this world, yet they will still not make it to the second stage, which is the journey. Why is this so? The reason is because the majority of people are too attached to this world. They can't let it go, right? So you have some guys that just can't go one season without seeing what those Cowboys are doing, right? You have some people that can't go one season to see what Tommy and all them are doing on Power. You know, people's habits. You know, you have some guys can't give up the hub for 24 hours, right? You have some guys that can't give up the smoke for one single day because they're too attached. They're too attached to this world to be able to briefly separate themselves to go on a journey to find enlightenment, right? And when it comes to friends and family, I'm telling you, this is one of the greatest barriers, right? Now, you heard me talk about those brothers, you know, my best friends on one of my previous videos. I talked about my partner Lawrence and I talked about my partner Lane. These are my best friends. I would easily die for these brothers. I would easily kill for these brothers. You know, when I think about my family, my mom and my sister, you hear me talk about my nephew Jay all the time, my nieces, my whole family. I would easily kill for my family. I would easily die for my family. But you know what I wouldn't do? I would never sacrifice my soul for anybody on this planet. And I'm telling you, when you go into this second stage, you know, we all know that elevation takes separation. And I'm telling you, the majority of people can't separate from this world. You know what I'm saying? They're too attached. You know, when it comes to this journey, this is by far the hardest part of waking up. By far the hardest part. This is the only reason I made the path. If you haven't seen the path, go check it out. This is the only reason I made it. Because see, people get to this point and they see what needs to be done to get to the next level, and they just get stagnant. They can't do it. So I broke down step by step how this whole thing is going to play out. You know, I can remember when I started my journey, right? In other words, I can remember when I separated myself from the religion that I was attached to for, you know, my whole life, you know, and I did that in order to see what was out there. I did that in order to get answers. You know, I entertained Islam. I entertained other religions. And what this did, it caused ripples in my life. You have to understand that at this time I was married. This caused ripples in my marriage. And eventually, I would say was one of the primary reasons that led to my divorce, this separation of mindset. You have to understand that this was causing ripples in my family. I'm going to family events. I'm celebrating on holidays, and I'm questioning why we're doing certain things. I'm questioning why I was raised to believe certain things, and it's causing ripples. And I'm telling you, as much as I love my family during that stage in my life, I'm telling you, brothers, I was willing to turn my back, walk my own way, and never see any family members again. It was that serious to me. It was that serious to me. See, that's why. See, a lot of brothers don't understand the severity of this stuff, man. See, I can't stand when brothers come to me talking about, what them Packers doing or what the Steelers doing. In my mind, I'm like, brother, you sleepwalking. Like if you understand all the things that are taking place around us, then those things are cool for entertainment. But when we sit there chopping it up, I don't care about what the Mavericks doing. I don't care about what the Cowboys are doing. That's small talk. That's sleepwalker talk. You know what I'm saying? That's why I keep my circle so small, because, brothers, if you understand what's taking place, you don't have time for that. Again, that's for the sleepwalkers, guys. At the end of the day, guys, when I talk about this journey, it's not for the weak-minded men. Again, I'm only talking to a small percentage of brothers when I even have these type conversations. And again, on this journey, you have to be willing to walk alone. Now, the third and final step of awareness, right, is coming into knowing. And what I mean by that is you go from being on the journey and you transition into knowing. What do I mean by that? What I mean is you no longer are straddling the fence on anything, right? See, during the journey, you're going around and you're getting bits and pieces of all this because you're trying to figure things out. You've been awakened, you're snapping out of it, you're trying to figure things out. This third stage, you're now in the knowing. And what I mean by that is, you no longer participate in the chaos of this world. It doesn't matter what comes on that television. It doesn't matter what comes over your radio waves. It doesn't pertain to you. I believe the word says to be still and to know that I am God. So you say, what is it that I need to know, soul? Well, I'm telling you, I thoroughly break this down in the recipe for those of you who have watched it. But what you need to know, what you need to ultimately understand is that this world is an illusion. What you ultimately need to understand is that these physical bodies that we live in, you have to understand that they're simply avatars that we're operating from somewhere different than this. You know what I'm saying? I think about like when I'm watching my son, play his video games, whether it's Call of Duty or whether it's, GTA, these other games people are playing, right? And I'm sitting there watching him. And I can look at the television, and he's sitting there, he's getting shot up, he's getting cut up, he's getting put in jail, he's getting persecuted, he's going through trials and tribulations, right? And I can stop and I can just look over my son while he's playing. His face is just nonchalant. Why is this? It's because he's fully aware that the things on television is just an avatar that he's operating from a different place. And I'm telling you, this is how we have to move in this world. This is how man moves once he becomes aware. Think about it. Once you understand that, there's no reason to fear anything. There's no reason to fear lack. There's no reason to fear death because it no longer exists. Once you get this understanding, you're now tapping into your immortality. There was a verse in the Bible where the prophet was speaking to his disciples, I believe. And it blew my mind for the longest, right? And he said, there will be some amongst you that will not taste death. And I'm telling you, when I read that at a young age, I had no idea what it meant. It just didn't make sense because I was like, well, all these brothers died. Some of them died horrible deaths, right? But he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about what eternal life was. He was talking about some of these brothers are going to tap into their immortality. Brother Bobby Hemmett said it best, guys. And I play it every time I make a video. He said, is it not written that ye are gods? He said, but there's levels to it. He said, it all depends on whether you consider yourself to be human or whether you consider yourself to be immortal.